It was the moment the mask didn't just slip. It completely shattered into a million jagged pieces on national television. For 15 years, we have watched Kody Brown try to sell us a very specific story. He told us he was the patriarch, the leader, the man with the plan who demanded absolute loyalty and respect. But in a single, terrifying split second, that entire narrative dissolved. When host Suki Krishnan pushed him just a little too hard on the topic of his favorite wife, Kody didn't respond with facts. He didn't respond with logic. He leaned forward, face flushed, eyes wild, and barked a question that accidentally exposed the darkest secret of the Brown family dynamic. He asked, "Am I Robyn's puppet or is she mine?" Let that sink in. He didn't deny the manipulation. He didn't say their marriage was a partnership of equals. He framed it as a power struggle, a twisted game of who holds the strings. This wasn't just a reality TV outburst. This was a psychological collapse. Kody Brown, the man who sacrificed 3 marriages to protect his ego, finally admitted that he doesn't even know who is in charge of his own life anymore. And if you look closely at the footage, you can see the exact second his narcissism ate itself alive. We are about to break down the puppet master confession and the insider reports that suggest this unhinged moment was actually fueled by a secret panic happening behind closed doors that the cameras weren't supposed to see. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and uncover the dark, untold truths behind reality TV's most chaotic families, you need to hit that like button right now. It helps us expose the stories they try to hide. And make sure you're subscribed because the downfall of the Brown family is accelerating, and we are tracking every single move. You do not want to miss what's coming next. To understand why this puppet comment is the final nail in the coffin for Kody's reputation, we have to look at the context. For over a decade, fans have shouted at their screens that Robyn Brown is the neck that turns the head. We've watched her cry on cue, interrupt Kody to translate his own words for him, and slowly isolate him from his other wives. But Kody has always violently rejected this. To him, the idea that he is being controlled by a woman is the ultimate insult. It attacks his core identity as an alpha male. So when Suki Krishnan presented the accusations from the OG wives that Robyn's needs always came first, Kody was trapped. A secure man would have laughed it off. A secure man would have said, "No, I love all my wives equally, and here is the proof." But Kody doesn't have proof. He has grievances. And in his anger, he tried to flip the script. By asking if Robyn is his puppet, he was trying to look dangerous. He was trying to look dominant. But the irony is tragic. At that moment, he confirmed that their relationship is transactional. It's not about love, it's about control. If he is her puppet, he's a weak man betrayed by his lover. If she is his puppet, he is a tyrannical monster controlling a woman. There is no third option where this is a healthy, happy marriage. He walked right into a trap of his own making, and the silence that followed was deafening. But let's go deeper because the surface level analysis isn't enough. There are reports circulating in the darker corners of the fandom and message boards that suggest this outburst wasn't just about the interview. Insider speculation claims that tensions inside the mansion on the hill have reached a boiling point. The theory is that Kody's aggressive behavior isn't just for the cameras. It's bleeding into his last remaining marriage. When he asked, "Or is she mine?" it might not have been a rhetorical question. It might have been a threat. Think about the timing. Christine left, then Janelle walked away. Finally, Mary, the loyal soldier, packed her bags. Kody Brown didn't just lose 3 wives, he lost 3 streams of income. He lost the buffer zone. For years, he could deflect his anger onto the disobedient wives. If he was in a bad mood, it was Christine's fault. If he felt disrespected, it was Janelle's fault. But now, there is no one left to blame name but Robyn. And sources suggest that the walls are closing in on the happy couple. Without a common enemy to fight, Kody and Robyn are forced to look at each other, and what they see might be terrifying. This brings us to the puppet master theory. Viewers have long suspected that Robyn plays the role of the damsel in distress to trigger Kody's hero complex. She acts confused, she cries, she claims she just wants the family to be together, and Kody swoops in to defend her honor. It's a classic covert narcissist maneuver. She pulls the strings by appearing helpless. But in that tell-all interview, Kody stripped away her cover. By screaming about puppets, he put a spotlight on her influence. He made everyone look at Robyn and ask, is she actually the one in charge? If Robyn is the mastermind, this was her worst nightmare. She thrives in the shadows. She thrives on plausible deniability. She wants the world to think she is just the sweet, obedient wife who is misunderstood. But Kody, in his blind rage, implicated her. He dragged her down into the mud with him. This is why many analysts believe that the look on his face wasn't just anger, it was fear. Deep down, Kody might suspect that he is the puppet. He might realize that he destroyed his relationship with his children, alienated his friends, and ruined his public image, all to please one person. And if that one person is actually playing him, then his entire life has been a lie. The psychological term for this is a double bind. Kody tried to use an intimidating question to shut down the conversation, but instead he opened Pandora's box. Let's talk about the specific body language he used. He didn't sit back and cross his arms. He leaned in. His face turned a deep, alarming shade of red. The veins in his forehead were visible. This is a man who is not in control of his emotions. This is a man who is operating on a hair trigger. And you have to wonder, if he acts like this in front of a professional host and a camera crew, what is he like when the doors are closed at Coyote Pass? There have been whispers, again, but persistent, that the atmosphere in the Brown household has shifted drastically. Some theories suggest that Robyn is no longer the compliant wife Kody fell in love with. Now that she is the only wife, the dynamic has fundamentally changed. She doesn't have to compete for his time anymore, which means she deals with him 24/7. And reports hint that the honeymoon phase is long dead. When Kody shouted, "Is she mine?" it felt like he was trying to convince himself. He was trying to reassert dominance over the only thing he has left. It is crucial to look at the financial aspect here because money is often the root of these explosions. For years, the family pot was fueled by the collective earnings of 4 distinct households. Now, that pot is light, very light. And Kody knows it. His ego is tied to his ability to provide, or at least his ability to control the resources. With the OG wives gone, taking their money and their TLC checks with them, the pressure on Kody and Robyn is immense. This puppet outburst could be the manifestation of extreme financial anxiety. He realizes that without the bad sister wives to subsidize their lifestyle, the puppet show is about to get canceled. And let's not forget the sheer hypocrisy of the statement. This is a man who spent seasons preaching about the sacred loneliness of plural marriage and the necessity of wives submitting to the patriarch. He built a brand on being the king of his castle. For him to even utter the word puppet shows how far he has fallen. He isn't talking about leadership anymore. He's talking about manipulation. He's talking about survival. He accidentally admitted that his marriage isn't based on faith or principle, but on a power dynamic that is constantly shifting. The audience reaction was immediate and brutal. Kody thought he was dropping a microphone. Instead, he dropped his pants. The comment sections across social media lit up with people pointing out that he had finally said the quiet part out loud. He validated 15 seasons of criticism in 5 seconds. He gave the viewers the gotcha moment they had been waiting for. But there is a darker layer to this story that goes beyond just a viral clip. We need to talk about the trap moment. Suki Krishnan didn't corner him with a difficult question. She simply relayed what the other wives said. A rational person would say, I disagree, and here is why. Kody's reaction was disproportionate. It was defensive to the point of hysteria. This suggests that the accusation hit a nerve. It suggests that deep down, Kody knows it's true. He knows he favored Robyn. He knows he bent the rules for her. He knows he changed the COVID protocols for her. And being called out on it caused a narcissistic injury so severe that he lashed out with a bizarre, nonsensical question about puppets. But what if there is more to the "is she mine" part of his rant? This is where the speculation gets truly interesting. There is a growing theory among the fan base that Kody is actually jealous of Robyn. Hear me out. Robyn is the one who came into the family late. She is the one who got the legal marriage. She is the one who has the big house. She is the one who still has a relationship with her kids. In many ways, Robyn won the game. Kody, on the other hand, has lost almost everything. He might be looking at his favorite wife and realizing that she holds all the cards. If she decides to leave him, he is truly finished. He would be a man with 18 children and no wives, a patriarch with no kingdom. This power imbalance is what makes the puppet line so chilling. It wasn't a question of authority. It was a cry for help disguised as a roar. He is terrified of being controlled, yet he has engineered a life where he is entirely dependent on one woman's validation. And the rumors about what is happening now in the aftermath of that interview are starting to paint a picture of a man who is paranoid, isolated, and scrambling to keep the narrative from collapsing entirely. We have to consider the nanny in all of this. Remember the nanny? The one who was allowed in the house when his own children weren't? If we look at this through the lens of the puppet confession, the nanny takes on a new role. Was she there to help with the kids, or was she there to serve as a buffer? Some insider chatter suggests that Kody and Robyn struggle to handle the household on their own, not because of the workload, but because of the emotional intensity. If Kody is this volatile, having a third party present, an employee, might be the only thing keeping the peace. The puppet comment hints at a chaotic home life where roles are undefined and power is constantly being fought over. But the chaos of the household and the presence of the nanny is just the tip of the iceberg. When Kody shouted that question about being a puppet, he didn't just expose a power struggle. He inadvertently shined a massive spotlight on the financial panic that seems to be driving this erratic behavior. Let's follow the money, because that is where the real story is hiding. For years, Kody and Robyn have lived a lifestyle that many viewers and even some family members have criticized as excessive. The mansion, the art on the walls, the expensive jewelry, the separate plot of land on Coyote Pass that still isn't paid off. All of this was sustainable when the family pot was being filled by 4 separate incomes. But that pot has a hole in the bottom now, and it's leaking fast. Insider reports and rumors have been circulating for months that the financial strain on Kody and Robyn is becoming catastrophic. Without the steady contributions from Christine, Janelle, and Mary, the math simply doesn't add up. And this context changes the entire meaning of his puppet outburst. When a man feels his kingdom crumbling and his bank account draining, the pressure to find a scapegoat becomes overwhelming. By lashing out and questioning who is in control, Kody might be projecting his terrifying realization that he has lost his financial safety net. He is looking at Robyn, the woman he sacrificed everything for, and perhaps for the first time, he is seeing the cost. There are even whispers, and remember, these are speculations from deep within the fan community, that Kody is paranoid about losing his remaining assets. If the legal marriages and spiritual unions were dissolved, who owns what? The complexity of their property arrangements on Coyote Pass is a nightmare. By asking if he is Robyn's puppet, he is subconsciously touching on a fear that many men in his position have. Is he being taken for a ride? Is he being used for his resources? The sheer venom in his voice suggests that this isn't just about emotional control. It's about survival. He knows that if the money dries up, the dynamic in that house is going to shift violently and not in his favor. And this brings us to the self-own of the century. By screaming about puppets, Kody Brown effectively validated every single reason the OG wives left him. Think about it. Christine said he played favorites. Janelle said he wasn't being logical or fair. Mary said he abandoned her. Kody denied all of it, claiming he was just a righteous patriarch doing his best. But then he sits in that chair, leans forward, and asks the world if he is being controlled by his fourth wife. In that moment, he proved them right. He admitted that the central conflict of his life isn't about disobedient wives. It's about his inability to manage his relationship with Robyn without letting it consume the entire family. He handed his ex-wives a victory on a silver platter. They don't even have to say anything anymore. All they have to do is point to that clip. If Kody is Robyn's puppet, then Christine was right to leave a weak leader. If Robyn is Kody's puppet, then Janelle was right to escape a tyrant. He painted himself into a corner where there is no moral high ground left for him to stand on. He destroyed his own defense. And the tragedy is, he doesn't even seem to realize it. He thought he was being profound, but he was actually writing his own obituary as a leader. Let's dig into the credibility dilemma, because this is where the psychology gets really dark. Kody has spent years cultivating an image of a red-pilled alpha male. He uses specific language about loyalty, submission, and patriarchy that mirrors certain online movements. Wants to be seen as the lion of the tribe, but lions don't ask if they are puppets. Lions don't scream at interviewers about who is pulling the strings. By losing his composure so completely, he revealed that this alpha persona is just a costume. It's a fragile shell covering a man who is deeply insecure and easily manipulated. There is a theory gaining traction online that Robyn knows exactly how to push his buttons to get this reaction. It's a technique called reactive abuse, where one person quietly pokes and prods the other until they snap, making the person who snapped look like the crazy one. We have to ask ourselves, did Robyn wind him up before he went on stage? Did she plant these seeds of doubt? Insider chatter suggests that Robyn often plays the victim behind closed doors, complaining about how the other wives treat her, which sends Kody into a protective rage. If that's true, then she is the ultimate puppet master, and Kody is dancing on her strings without even seeing the wires. The irony is suffocating. Kody demands respect, yet he acts in a way that commands none. He demands loyalty, yet he betrayed the trust of 3 women who gave him decades of their lives. And when Suki Krishnan gave him the chance to explain himself, to show some humility or self-awareness, he chose violence. He chose to bark a rhetorical question that made him look unhinged. This behavioral flaw, this narcissism that refuses to accept blame, is exactly why he is now sitting in a mansion that feels more like a bunker. We also need to talk about the trap moment again, but from a different angle. Why was he so red-faced? Why was he so physically agitated? It wasn't just anger. It looked like panic. When a narcissist is confronted with the truth, they often experience what psychologists call a narcissistic collapse. Their reality breaks down. Kody's reality is that he is a good man and a good leader. Suki's question pierced that bubble. It forced him to confront the possibility that he is actually the villain of the story, and his brain couldn't handle it. The puppet line was a glitch in his programming. It was a desperate attempt to regain control by confusing the narrative, but all it did was clarify it. Now, let's pivot to the rumors concerning Robyn's reaction to all of this. While Kody is out there imploding, Robyn usually remains calm, tearful, and composed. But there are reports that she is even starting to crack under the pressure. If Kody is publicly questioning their power dynamic, that is a direct threat to her security. She relies on him being the front man. She relies on him taking the heat. If he turns around and points the finger at her, even rhetorically, it signals a dangerous shift. It suggests that he might be willing to throw her under the bus to save his own ego. Imagine the conversations that happened in the car ride home after that interview. Imagine the tension in the air. If Kody really believes there is a chance he is a puppet, that seed of doubt will grow. It will fester. Every time Robyn asks him to do something, he will wonder, is she pulling the strings right now? Every time she cries, he will wonder, is this real or is she manipulating me? That kind of suspicion is poison to a marriage. And since they are now isolated from the rest of the family, that poison has nowhere else to go. It will circulate between the two of them until it becomes toxic. We have to look at the escalating stakes in terms of their public image, too. Reality TV stars rely on likability, or at least love to hate watchability, to keep their shows on the air. But Kody has crossed a line from entertaining villain to genuinely disturbing. Fans aren't just laughing at him anymore. They are concerned. They are disgusted. The puppet outburst was dark. It hinted at a level of dysfunction that isn't fun to watch. And sources claim that the network executives are taking notice. There are rumors that discussions are happening about the future of the show and whether Kody's spiraling behavior is becoming a liability rather than an asset. If the show gets canceled, or if the focus shifts entirely to the ex-wives' new lives, which is what the fans are clamoring for, Kody and Robyn are in serious trouble. Their entire identity is wrapped up in being the stars of Sister Wives. Without the show, who are they? Just a couple with too much debt and a lot of burnt bridges. The puppet comment might go down in history as the moment Kody Brown jumped the shark. It was the moment the audience stopped rooting for redemption and started waiting for the inevitable crash. And let's not ignore the concrete example of his hypocrisy. Kody often talks about how the other wives didn't communicate safely. Yet here he is screaming a bizarre, aggressive metaphor at a host who is just doing her job. He demonstrated zero emotional intelligence. He showed the world that he cannot handle conflict without escalating it. This validates every story the OG wives have told about his temper. It proves that walking on eggshells wasn't just a metaphor for them, it was their daily reality. And now that they are gone, Robyn is the only one left walking on those eggshells. There is a fascinating theory circulating that Kody is actually trying to sabotage the marriage with Robyn subconsciously. It sounds crazy, but hear me out. If he destroys this marriage, he can finally play the ultimate victim. He can say, look, I tried everything, but women are just impossible. He can retreat into his manosphere echo chamber and live out his days as a martyr for the patriarchal cause. By asking, am I her puppet? He is setting the stage for a narrative where he was tricked, deceived, and used. It's a way to absolve himself of responsibility. If the marriage fails, it's not his fault. It's because she was the puppet master all along. This brings us to a terrifying realization about the future of the Brown family. The Puppet Master breakdown wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of the end. We are watching a slow motion car crash, and Kody is behind the wheel, blindfolded, screaming about who is controlling the gas pedal. The insider reports, the financial rumors, and the psychological analysis all point to one conclusion. Kody Brown is a man on the brink. And what happens when a man like that finally runs out of road? That is the question we need to answer next. Because the fallout from this moment didn't stop when the cameras turned off. In fact, rumors suggest that the real drama started when Kody and Robyn got back to Flagstaff. We're talking about alleged fights, cold shoulders, and a scrambling attempt to do damage control that might have actually made things worse. The puppet comment was a bell that cannot be unrung. It hangs over their house like a dark cloud. And as we move into the final part of this breakdown, we are going to look at the point of no return. We are going to explore what the future holds for the last standing couple of the Brown family, and why some insiders believe that Kody and Robyn might not survive the very monster they created together. You might think you've seen the worst of Kody Brown, but if the speculation is true, the unraveling has only just begun. The puppet statement was a warning shot. What comes next is the war. The war isn't happening on a battlefield. It's happening in the silence of that massive, clutter-filled home in Flagstaff. When Kody and Robyn returned from the tell-all, the dynamic had fundamentally shifted. You can't scream, "Am I your puppet?" on national television and then go back to pretending everything is perfect. That question lingers in the air like a bad smell. Insider reports suggest that the atmosphere inside the home has turned from chaotic to icy. The honeymoon experience that Kody and Robyn claimed to have for over a decade is reportedly dead, replaced by a tense, paranoid standoff where both parties are waiting for the other to blink. This brings us to the isolation phase of the breakdown. For years, Kody had a distraction. He had 3 other wives to fight with, over a dozen children to complain about, and a constant rotation of chaos to keep him busy. But now, the distractions are gone. Christine is living her best life. Janelle is traveling and glowing. Mary is finally free. Kody is left on an island of one with Robyn. And the tragedy for him is that he might be realizing he's stranded on that island with the very person who sunk his ship. There is a chilling theory making the rounds in the fan community that Robyn is actually terrified of this new version of Kody. The man she married was the fun, goofy, center of attention guy. The man she is stuck with now is angry, bitter, and obsessed with the idea that he has been wronged. If Kody is questioning whether he is a puppet, it means he is starting to resent her influence. And for a woman who relies on influence to maintain her lifestyle, that is a catastrophe. Rumors are swirling that Robyn has been seen looking more stressed and unhappy than ever before, leading some to speculate that she is secretly planning her own exit strategy. Think about it. If Kody is spiraling this hard, if his ego is this fractured, he is not a safe harbor. He is a sinking ship. Sources hint that Robyn, who has always been shrewd about protecting her children and her assets, might be quietly separating her finances or consulting with advisors to ensure she doesn't go down with him. The puppet master might be realizing that the puppet is broken beyond repair, and it's time to cut the strings before they drag her under. We also have to talk about the manosphere descent. Kody's language in that interview and in the seasons leading up to it mirrors the rhetoric found in the darkest corners of the internet. He talks about loyalty and patriarchy in a way that feels radicalized. He views women not as partners, but as subjects who must submit. By asking if he is a puppet, he is signaling that he feels his masculinity is under attack. This suggests he is spending a lot of time in online echo chambers, looking for validation that he is the victim. And the more he consumes that content, the more impossible he becomes to live with. This is the behavioral flaw that has eaten him alive. Kody's narcissism prevents him from seeing that he is the common denominator. He thinks the problem is that he was too nice, too permissive. He thinks he needs to tighten his grip, but the harder he squeezes, the more he loses. He tried to squeeze Christine, she left. He tried to squeeze Janelle, she walked. He tried to squeeze Mary, she bailed. Now his grip is entirely on Robyn. And that kind of pressure, the pressure of being the sole focus of a narcissist's need for control, is enough to crush anyone. Let's revisit the concrete example of the nanny one last time in this context. If the rumors are true that Kody and Robyn are fighting more than ever, the nanny's role becomes even more critical. She isn't just a helper, she's a witness. She is the third party in a house that is imploding. And you have to wonder what she has seen. Does she see a loving couple, or does she see two people trapped in a suicide pact of mutual destruction? The fact that they still need external help despite having no jobs and grown children suggests that the dysfunction is paralyzing. They can't function as a normal couple because their relationship was built on a foundation of us against them. Now that them is gone, there is no us left. The thematic hypocrisy here is staggering. Kody spent 15 years trying to convince the world that polygamy made him a better man. He claimed it made him less selfish, more spiritual. But the puppet outburst proved the exact opposite. It proved that polygamy turned him into a paranoid, transactional cynic who measures love in obedience. He didn't become a patriarch. He became a dictator with an empty kingdom. The puppet master confession was his subconscious admitting that the entire experiment was a failure. He isn't leading anyone to heaven. He's just trying to avoid hell on earth. And what about the fans? The credibility dilemma is solved. The fans know the truth now. They watched him unravel in real time. There is no editing trick that can fix this. There is no PR spin that can walk back the sight of a grown man barking about puppets. Kody Brown has become a caricature of himself. He is the villain of his own story, and he doesn't even know it. He thinks he is King Lear, raging at the storm, but the audience just sees a sad, angry man yelling at clouds. This leads us to the point of no return. There is no coming back from this. The Brown family as we knew it is dead. The show might continue for another season to capture the aftermath, but the soul of the series is gone. Kody cannot rebuild the bridges he burned. He cannot unsay the cruel things he said to his children. He cannot undo the financial damage. And most importantly, he cannot unask the question, am I Robyn's puppet? That question is now the lens through which we view every single interaction they have. Every time Robyn speaks, we look for the strings. Every time Kody nods, we see the puppet. The illusion is over. The curtain has been pulled back, and the wizard is just a terrified man hiding behind a microphone. The Puppet Master breakdown wasn't just a viral clip. It was a eulogy for a family that was destroyed by ego. Kody Brown wanted to be remembered as a legend. Instead, he will be remembered as the man who had everything: love, family, money, fame, and threw it all away because he was terrified that his favorite wife might be smarter than him. As we watch the final embers of this reality TV fire burn out, one thing is certain: the drama isn't over. In fact, if the rumors about Robyn's growing unhappiness and the looming financial crisis are true, the biggest explosion is yet to come. Kody thinks he's fighting for control, but he's actually fighting for survival. And in that desperate state, he is capable of anything. The puppet strings are tangled, the stage is collapsing, and the audience is glued to their seats, waiting for the final act. Do you think Robyn is secretly planning to leave Kody now that the money is drying up? Or is she in it for the long haul? And was that puppet comment a slip of the tongue or a cry for help? Let me know your theories in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want to be the first to know when the next big break in this story happens, you need to subscribe and turn on notifications right now. We are digging into the financial records next, and what we're finding is going to shock you. You do not want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.